one big beautiful bill language out that cut the waste, fraud, and abuse, which is one of them cutting the millions of illegals from getting those subsidies. They want to reinstate that. And they say that's not what it's about, but it literally strikes it line for line. When we say Schumer shutdown, it's 100% Schumer shutdown, because his fear of AOC beating him in his primary election is absolutely making him run in fear.
It is the Martha Zoller show. I think it's so interesting. It was last night or the night before. I may not have seen it till this morning. Jimmy Kimmel goes on the Stephen Colbert show. I think the optics of that are really interesting because Stephen Colbert will be out in May and Jimmy Kimmel will probably be out in January. And they're sitting around talking about how terrible Donald Trump is, freely talking about the worst, thinking he's the worst president, thinking he's out there. They just live in a world of a pity party. And it's the most interesting pity party I've ever seen, because most people who have $15 to $80 million in assets are more secure in themselves because they don't have to worry about making a living anymore. But these folks have had their ego fed to the point of craziness. So anyway, just my thought, first thing in the morning. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. Look, I think this calling it the Schumer shutdown is great, because what the Democrats are trying to call it is like a 10-word thing that's got Donald Trump in it. Nobody's going to remember that. They're going to remember Schumer shutdown. And I used to say about Chuck Schumer and AOC that Chuck Schumer had one more win in him, and that AOC is going to run against him, and she will probably lose, and that will be the end of everything. Not of everything, but of her in this particular moment. But it's not what's happening, because Schumer looks weaker and older and tireder. And AOC sitting there, and to be fair, said, Republicans say I'm behind all of this, so senators come over and negotiate with me. Yeah, there's a little nuance there, because she didn't want to actually say, come and negotiate with me. But basically what she's saying is she's a lot more important than she is. And then they did this very interesting video of her and Bernie Sanders. They're walking hand in hand, and then he's got his arm around her, and she's kind of nuzzling up against him, and he's saying what a great girl she is and how wonderful she is. And they're walking all over D.C. And I couldn't help but think, well, 3 weeks ago, they couldn't have walked all over D.C., or a month ago, because there would have been crime everywhere. They wouldn't have been able to do this video but for Donald Trump cleaning up the streets. So it's really interesting. I talked to a couple of my, granted, old Democrat friends that they haven't switched to being Republicans. Don't get me wrong. And I think that, they won't. But they are just embarrassed by what they're seeing. And you know what, Democrats, and again, I don't want to tell Democrats how to win. In general, I think people are kind of comfortable with moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats running things. Okay? They really don't want the far right and the far left running things. In general, the average person. Primaries create this far right and far left. And then social media throws gasoline on it, okay? So we live in a world where nobody, we make fun on the conservative side about the phrase "my truth," but there is a big problem where people have their own sets of facts, and they don't see the other side at all, and they're not willing to listen that they might be wrong. And I think that's crazy. But I've been thinking a lot about the language that is continuing to be used. We've learned nothing from the death of Charlie Kirk, because, still using lots of language, especially on the Democrat side, but some Republicans, but a lot more on the Democrat side. It is tyrant, despot, all of the Hitler, all of this stuff. And honestly, what's happening is J.D. Vance is going out and fighting the case on the shutdown to a large degree in a public view. President Trump's going to have a meeting today with Russ Vought that he talked about this morning on Truth Social. But Trump's been doing things like getting Pfizer to come to the table, getting things out of our food, working on children's cancer research. He's doing presidential things. So I've been thinking about this. Democrats insisted and keep insisting that Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. Sometimes they call him the second coming of Hitler. They call him an authoritarian dictator. But, the Democrats say, if you fund health care for illegal aliens and NPR, Democrats will gladly fund his concentration camps. So they're saying they can be sold. They're saying, actually, they don't believe he is an authoritarian. And they've actually given him more power. So the Democrat Party, by not voting, and look, Rand Paul needs to get on board and vote with the senators. They're going to vote again tomorrow. They're not voting today because they're out for Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. It's the highest holy day on the Jewish calendar. And it's the Day of Atonement where you go to a temple and you atone for your sins. You talk about what your sins are. And so nothing's going to happen again until Friday. But the Democratic Party has boxed itself in by dialing the rhetoric up, okay, and demanding things that amount to a 2. And what I mean by that is they're dialing the rhetoric up way over 10. But what they're asking for is a 2 as far as what people care about. When you scream dictator with every breath, yet bargain away your fear for subsidies and pet programs, what are they confessing about themselves? I didn't write this, but I think it's true. If Trump truly were Hitler, would healthcare funding for non-citizens and NPR airtime outweigh the moral crisis? Or does their hysteria reveal something deeper, that words like democracy and fascism are no longer convictions, but currency to be spent when convenient? I don't use that kind of hyperbolic language. I try to always see the good in people. And I do think that people want to see what Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill did. People want to see what even Barack Obama and Mitch McConnell did. People want to see what George Bush did with Nancy Pelosi and others. Okay? People want to see folks working across the aisle, yes, having things that they believe in. But the problem is, Donald Trump couldn't get one Democrat to show up when he was signing the executive order about looking into children's cancer cures. Donald Trump couldn't get one Democrat to cheer the little boy that had brain cancer that was at the State of the Union. They sat down and they sat on their hands. Folks, we have got to get away from, if it's your idea, Donald Trump, we hate it. No matter if we had that idea for 20 years. Because let me tell you a little secret. Donald Trump is not that conservative. Okay? And he will work with you on anything that you'll be reasonable about. I think that's probably one of the good things about him. But he will fight you if you fight him. We'll take a break.
Anytime is a great time to travel. Hi, it's Anita with Travel with Anita and Friends. Are you ready to start planning your getaway? I've got tips, trends, and exciting destinations to share. Join me Saturday at 1 on North Georgia's News Talk, WDUN.
Should you make your trust the beneficiary of your IRA? So many say you shouldn't, but we say you should. This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and if you want your IRA to be protected for your surviving spouse, children, or family, then you should leave it to them at your death through a trust. For more information, go to my website, kevintharpwithane.com.
When you have a problem with your roof, you want someone who can respond quickly, but also who knows roofing. That's what you get at Georgia Select Roofing. This is Chris Earls, and we do roofing right. Estimates are free, we can help you navigate your insurance claim, and we also offer financing. Check out our Google reviews, and you'll see that Georgia Select Roofing offers the best service around. See us today at georgiaselectroofing.com or call us at 678-316-6899. Family owned and operated, Georgia Select Roofing has you covered.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen in a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Houston man facing Hall County charges of aggravated assault following a domestic violence case early Tuesday. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
2,200 American servicemen killed at Pearl Harbor. We go on to kill 3.5 million Japanese, including 100,000 in one night. 2,800 Americans in 9/11. We go on to kill 400,000 people in Afghanistan and Iraq. We weren't accused of genocide. You had, if Mexico had elected a jihadist cartel to run their country, and then they incurred into Texas, and on a per capita basis killed 35,000 people, or the population of the University of Texas, and on the way back took the freshman class at SMU hostage and hid them under tunnels, what would we do? It'd be the great Sonora radioactive parking lot. But Jews are not allowed, and Israel is not allowed to prosecute a war. And they are prosecuting a war more humanely than we have done. The ratio of combatants to civilians is, of civilian death to combatant mortality is lower than it was in Mosul, lower than it was in Japan, lower than it was in Germany. So there's just a different standard for Jews in Israel when it comes to prosecuting a war. They're allowed to fight back to a truce, but unlike America or any other Western nation that has attacked this viciously, they're not allowed to win a war. It's a double standard.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Scott Galloway. He's a professor that has formerly taught at UCLA, has UC Berkeley. He's taught at NYU. He's taught, he calls himself center left. He's got a podcast called Pivot Pod, which I will be following because I think he's thinking about things very clearly. And it's very, very interesting to hear somebody put it like that, because we're coming up, it's Yom Kippur today. We're coming up on the anniversary of October 7th. And, we need to think about these things. And he's calm, cool, and collected. And that was on MSNBC. And Logan, they let him get that entire statement out without interrupting him. And we need to do more of that. Let a person make their point and then go from there on it.
No, I agree. I mean, that's really with anything, whether it be politics, sports, whatever it may be. Just let them finish their full statement. Don't cut them off. Don't start arguing. Just let them say whatever they have to say, and then respond in a peaceful way afterwards, and very respectful way. Just show some manners. That's all you got to do.
Absolutely. So he said, peaceful, easy way, something like that. There's that song. It's a peaceful, easy feeling. And last week at church, we did kind of a montage of Amazing Grace and that song that they do at Camp Glisten. And it was such a wonderful thing. And it made me feel good for the whole week. Now, I got a text message from someone that said, Martha, we need to remember where government went wrong. Now we spend billions on waste and things that people, churches, businesses should step up and help. And then he sent me something to listen to, which I will. But I wanted to bring that up because it was right when I was thinking to bring up next. And it was just like a mind thing, okay? It was a God thing. When I went through the government shutdown, when Senator Perdue was senator while Barack Obama was still president, we had all these groups come in and meet with us leading up to the government shutdown. We were furloughed for the period of time of the shutdown. But these groups came up. And what shocked me the most was we had Catholic Charities come to visit us and talk about how the end of the world would come if they couldn't get federal government money. We had UMCOR, which is the charitable version of my church, come up and say the same thing. And I remember about that time, my husband was having shoulder surgery, and the pastor came to visit me in the waiting room while I was waiting for him to come out. And I had just had this meeting with this group, and I was just shocked that the organization that represented my church was so dependent upon government money, as well as, because we're big givers to our church, and I think that if you're a Christian person, you should be giving to the church that you go to. Time, talent, resources, whatever it is, money. But I remember asking her, because clearly the things they were asking for in the meeting with us were kind of liberal policies. And she just looked at me like a deer in headlights, like she had no idea what I was talking about. But if you look at the charitable resources of the UN, the charitable resources of the Catholic Church, the charitable resources of the Methodist Church, probably the Baptist Church too, that these organizations, and this is a word I think it's a real word, or I might have made it up, okay? But the bureaucratization of these charitable organizations have taken them farther and farther away from what they should be doing and turned them more into a business. You look at a guy like the guy that runs Tunnel to Towers, who they build the houses, they pay off the mortgages of first responders that have been killed, they build houses for veterans, and now they're doing homeless buildings that they're building to get homeless people into, homeless veterans. And something like 97% of all the money that's donated to Tunnel to Towers is used for their projects, and only 3% for oversight because they're largely run by volunteers. I was on the finance committee at my church back in the day, and Phil DeMore was our pastor. And we still run by this in our church, and that's why I'm still there, is that if we're doing God's work, then the money will come. And I believe that if you have to have an organization with an office and a whole bunch of administrators and a whole bunch of people, you're not getting the work done on the cellular level, as the kids like to say. Pope Leo, I've been very positive about, but he got kind of caught off guard for the first time. So Dick Durbin, it was supposed to get this Lifetime Achievement Award from the Catholic Church, and there's some pushback on it because he is pro-life. And, I mean, he is pro-choice. And they asked the Pope about it, and the Pope's from Chicago, but he may not have followed Dick Durbin that closely, okay? He's kind of been busy with church things. But he said he didn't know enough about it to say whether just him being pro-abortion was enough for him to not get this award from the Catholic Church. So I'm just a little confused because, and I'm going to chalk it up to where he was caught off guard, because in the last few weeks he's been saying basically the teachings of the church are the teachings of the church and of the Bible, and we're not going to waver from them. And then he gives this wishy-washy answer about a pro-abortion senator that's going to be honored by the Catholic Church. Now, I do agree that in general you shouldn't judge people by one thing. You should judge them by their whole body of work. But I think as it relates to the Catholic Church, abortion's a pretty big issue. And I think Nancy Pelosi has been denied communion because of her positions. And I think that if it's pretty well understood, even though hear a lot of people say, oh, nobody follows those Catholic rules anymore. Well, they should. If you're going to be a member of the Catholic Church, you should. If you're going to be a member of any church, you should follow the rules of that church. Because we have freedom of religion here. If you don't want to follow the rules, you can go to another church where you like the rules. I mean, we actually have a Methodist church that's left United Methodism down in downtown Atlanta, where they are very progressive and liberal. But they took ownership of it. Okay? I have no problem with a liberal church. I have no problem with it. I believe in freedom of religion. But I believe what I believe as far as my faith goes. So we've got to make sure that people are not using the government. The government funds way too much stuff. They fund too much research. Because if it's good research, you should be able to raise the money for it. Okay? This should be the mantra for anything. If it's a good idea, you should be able to move it forward. If it's not a good idea, then it should fail. Failure is not a bad thing. In fact, I have learned more from my failures in life than I have from my successes. And that's a trite thing that older people and my parents used to tell me, but it's true. You learn more from your failures. You learn how to build a better mousetrap. It's what we do. We'll be back.
I know you've heard the word, but have you experienced it? The word is revival. Asbury Chapel invites you to 3 nights of praise and preaching for the purpose of being revived in your faith in Jesus Christ. We'll hear from different preachers from across North Georgia each night and sing songs of faith that have built us up for generations. Come on out for beautiful fall air and homemade desserts as we experience Jesus together. Services will be held October 5th, 6th, and 7th at 6:30 p.m. at Antioch Campground. Go to asburychapel.net for more information.
This fall, give your lawn and food plots the winning edge with Limelight Pro. Now at Farmers Exchange in Cleveland. Limelight Pro is a premium, fast-acting pelletized lime that helps balance soil pH, unlock nutrients, and boost plant growth. Easy to spread, quick to work, and perfect for a fall application. Whether growing grass, gardens, or game plots, get the results you want with Limelight Pro. Farmers Exchange, your hometown partner for a stronger, greener season.
I'm willing to wager that when you cook, you don't skimp on quality. At Loretta's Country Kitchen, we don't either. This is Grant Nichols at Loretta's, where we use only the best ingredients, including Springer Mountain chicken tenders, canned sauces, Hormel bacon, and Jimmy Dean sausage. It's also why we make our biscuits from scratch every day. We don't compromise on quality, and neither should you. Enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner with us, and bring your friends. Loretta's Country Kitchen, Monday Mill Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
This week on Friday Game Night on AM 550, Buford travels to face Collins Hill. On FM 102.9, Monroe area hosts Jefferson. And on 94.5 FM, The Lake, Gainesville's on the road at Seconder. Coverage begins at 6 with a prep tailgate show presented by Conditioned Air Systems on your home of Friday Game Night. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
News. I'm Therese Crowley. Government shutdown day 2. Senate Democrats say they won't be bullied into a government funding extension that doesn't restore health care, waste, fraud, and abuse cuts. GOP Senate Leader John Thune tells Fox.
Clean. It is nonpartisan. It is short term. It has no gimmicks. We didn't put any partisan riders on it. I mean, this is something that should be a no-brainer.
The Washington Post suggests Democrats are walking into a trap, and now President Trump has posted he's meeting with OMB Director Russ Vought today to determine which agencies should be cut, saying, I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this opportunity. Air traffic controllers working without paychecks. And at New York's LaGuardia Airport last night, a Delta regional jet on the taxiway collided at low speed with another Delta jet. Its wing clipping the other's nose cone and fuselage at an intersection with visible damage to both, one minor injury to a flight attendant. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A man arrested in Toccoa Monday on child molestation-related charges. WDUN's William Daughtry reports.
According to the East Stevens County Sheriff's Office, they pulled over 38-year-old Jonathan Scott Barker on Monday on US 123 in Toccoa. During that stop, they confirmed Barker had active warrants in their county, and he was transported to the Stevens County Jail without incident. The warrants were issued last Thursday following an investigation into a report that Barker inappropriately texted a minor. He's currently being held without bond.
One area in North Georgia recognized by the Georgia Chamber of Commerce this week. WDUN's Lawson Smith explains.
The Georgia Chamber of Commerce has named Blue Ridge Fannin County as its Rural Community of the Year. The Chamber presented the award Monday during the Rural Awards Luncheon as part of the Rural Prosperity Summit in Tifton. The organization says that the county was selected for the award by a statewide panel that reviewed applications from numerous communities in Georgia.
And Gainesville City School System announcing Wednesday that the four-year cohort graduation rate for the class of 2025 was 91.4%. And Superintendent Jeremy Williams says it's the first time the school system exceeded a 90% graduation rate, with Gainesville High School's rate at 92.6%, Horizon Academy's at 89.9%. There's more news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
I hope your Thursday morning is fabulous so far, North Georgia. We've got a mix of clouds and sunshine. Mostly sunny skies by this afternoon. We're in the mid-70s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Murrayville, 61 degrees, Sugar Hill, 63, and in Gainesville, 62. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
The 28th annual Motul Petit Le Mans returns to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, October 8th through 11th. It's 4 days of world-class sports car endurance racing, culminating with a 10-hour IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season finale, along with action from 4 additional racing series. Enjoy the fan zone, car corrals, grid walk, and so much more. Tickets start at just $60 with kids 12 and under admitted for free. Get yours today at MichelinRacewayRoadAtlanta.com and be there for the Motul Petit Le Mans October 8th through 11th at Michelin Raceway.
Fall has arrived, and with it, big jobs for your business. From leaf piles growing to debris cleanup, you'll need equipment that can keep up with the work. At Howard Brothers, they've got you covered with a full lineup of Skag street blowers, vacuums, and debris loaders. Some of the most powerful tools in the industry. With Skag, you'll tackle every job with ease and deliver the premium service your customers expect. You demand simply the best, and that's exactly what Skag delivers. Stop by your local Howard Brothers today and gear up for the fall work heading our way.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Our political power players, Scott Jennings and Karen Finney, are here.
Well, the president did try to bring them into the room the other day, and they wouldn't budge. I mean, look, the facts here are pretty simple. The Republican Party has put on the floor and voted for a clean, continuing resolution, no changes. These are Biden budget numbers, by the way, and numbers that Democrats have voted for 13 times. Nothing up our sleeves here, Caitlin. They're trying to keep the government open long enough to negotiate things like the health care issue, which you were just debating, which I actually think maybe Republicans will wind up dealing on that. But they're not going to do it under duress, and they're not going to do it under threat of rolling back all the Medicaid reforms that were done this summer. So I think President Trump tried to bring the Democrats in. And at the end of the day, I think the American people know here they're looking at two parties. One's trying to do a bunch of funny business. One's trying to keep the doors open. And right now, I don't think the funny business side is winning in the eyes of the American people.
Well, I just want to correct something. You know, Scott, you know how much I respect you, but let's be honest here.
I don't need to be corrected, and I don't need to be told I'm dishonest, Karen. But by all means, go ahead. We're stunned. I'll just be honest with you. We're stunned. I mean, the Democratic constituencies are principally immigration populations and government workers.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and look, everybody's going to go back and forth about this, and I'm sure there are people that have their opinions. I think that they're going to come back in tomorrow, and I hope they're going to, you're going to get 5 Democrats or Rand Paul and 4 Democrats to come to their senses and vote this plan in, because it's been voted in 13 other times. Do I like that we're doing continuing resolutions? Absolutely not. Okay, I don't like it at all. We need to do an actual budget, but what we're being told is they're close to finishing the budget, and they're open to talking about some of these things that, some of these things that everyone's talking about. Okay, they're open to that. So we'll see what happens, with all of that, but we'll keep talking about it. We'll find out all the challenges that people have related to this, but we're going to get to a decision and a compromise on all of this. And I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But if it's a long shutdown, it's Schumer's shutdown, and we need to be aware of that. Now, we're going to bring it back a little closer to home right now. Rich Elsarelli is the chairman of the GOP, Hall County GOP party, and GOP, and he's here with us right now. Rich, how are you?
Good, Martha. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. So tell us about what's upcoming with the Hall County GOP.
Well, one of the bigger things that we have going on is on October 14th at the Gainesville Civic Center, we're doing our part to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy by action. So we have a lot of youth that are going to be at this meeting to help push for the next chapter for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Millennials. And so with that, we've got several good speakers, including Cooper Whitmire, Turning Point Action, Sarah Hope, Club America, and we also have Faith Cananis, who is also with Turning Point USA for college chapters, Jaquan Stembridge, Assistant Secretary of GOP, and Jacqueline Harn with the Georgia Young Republicans. So the goal here with this event is to get the younger generation involved in conservative activism.
So tell us when and where that is.
That's October 14th at the Gainesville Civic Center Ballroom.
Oh, that's great.
6:30 to 8. Yeah. 6:30 to 8:30. A lot of people are doing visuals, and all that's great and everything. But what we decided to do at the Hall GOP was to carry his legacy and his honor by showing action. We need the younger generation involved in conservative politics, or there will be no one to pass this torch off to. And so we recognize this, and we decided to do this and push this using Turning Point and the young Republicans and the younger generation that isn't already involved. We decided to use this opportunity to help get them involved. Our goal is to remove any obstacles that there might be at the college or high school levels to start these chapters. And some of those obstacles might just be having a conversation with board members. Some of it might be a little bit more than that. But we want to be there as an asset for them to help remove these obstacles.
Well, I look forward to you all putting this together. I think it's very exciting, and you've done a great job doing those kind of events. Tell people what they should know about the Hall County Republican Party.
Well, the Republican Party in Hall County is really active. We're at different events trying to get out the vote, trying to recruit membership. We're different than most GOPs in the state, whereas we like to take different approach to things. And we also like to think outside the box. We understand that we can't do things like we've done for 20 years in the GOP. We have to do things differently in order to gain the audience that we need to get out the vote. So what we're focused on now is we're looking at the fact that there's not a whole lot of people. I shouldn't say that. We've lost a percentage of conservative voters in Hall County over the last 20 years. We're looking to regain that. Our goal is to not become a purple county. Our goal is to not become a Gwinnett County of 20 years ago where nonpartisan races were taken over by the Democrats. We understand this, and we're pushing forward in making sure that doesn't happen here in Hall County.
Absolutely. And if people want, when are your regular meeting times if people want to get involved?
So we're the third Tuesday of each month. And the best way to see our events and get involved is going to our Facebook page at Hall GOP, or going to our internet page at hallcountyrepublicanparty.com. So that's the best way to get up to date, because we have multiple meetings a month. We have precinct strategy, which is really where our activism is. we have something for everyone, including, I must plug in, the Turning Point Action Coalition also has a place for moms. So if you're looking to get into conservative activism through Turning Point, it can also serve, Turning Point serves as an outlet for that. And we know that these things are feeders into the Republican Party. So all of that is on our website, and again, hallcountyrepublicanparty.com.
Rich Elsarelli, thanks so much for calling in today. Appreciate it.
Martha, thanks for having us.
Thank you. And we got a text message in at 770-535-2911, and it said, Miss Martha, the Democrats truly have become the party of the elitists. They know better than we do, and there's no convincing them otherwise. And I think that is true, but also here's where we need to be careful. And I say conservative Republicans, we need to be careful, is that we have a lot of new people that voted for us. And they've shifted over from the Democratic Party, and they're more like middle class, lower middle class. I should say income, because I don't want to judge people's class by the money that they have. And there's been slow response to prices, slow response to the things they have to deal with every day. And many of these folks do not pay income tax. So even though they are going to benefit, or they don't pay much, even though they are going to benefit from the fact that all this extra tax money isn't taken out of the economy because the tax cuts were extended or made permanent, they still are not seeing the real benefit of a tax cut because they have enough deductions and things like that where they're not paying that much income tax. So we need to be continuing to put our message out. We need to continue to be compassionate about the new people that have come into our party, and we've got to keep educating, because if they don't vote for us 2 or 3 times, they're not going to stay with us. So that's what we have to look at in this midterm election. We've got 3 big, you know how I love the 3 things. We got 3 big things we got to do. We've got to, 1, make sure everybody is registered to vote, and the final day to register to vote is Monday, and we're going to have someone from Greater Georgia call in and talk about that tomorrow. The second thing we've got to do is talk to our friends and neighbors and being sure they get out to vote. And that starts with the municipal elections this year, as well as the PSC elections this year. And finally, we've just got to work tirelessly throughout next year to make sure that this is not a low turnout off-year election. Because if you have first of all, I want any vote to represent the most people possible. And we want it to reflect what people really want. So we don't have to be, the conventional wisdom is that Trump's going to lose the House and the Senate. That is the conventional wisdom. If we work hard, I don't think that will happen. We'll be back.
Keeping you up to date with the latest news and weather. It's what we do every day.
It's the news I trust.
North Georgia's News Talk. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
While technology has certainly changed the way people do business, it hasn't changed the way we treat our customers. It's Mike Cormier, and at Hardy Chevrolet, we are as committed to excellent customer service as the Hardys were when they started the business here in Gainesville over 4 decades ago. When it's time for a new or used vehicle, remember what Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
Mark your calendars for a taste of the past and the vision for our future. On Thursday, October 9th, the Northeast Georgia History Center presents Taste of History 2025 at the Gainesville Civic Center. Our theme, Looking Back, Moving Forward, invites you to enjoy lunch, hear a discussion on our local heritage, and take a peek at upcoming History Center projects. To reserve a spot or learn about sponsorships, contact the History Center at negahc.org. Taste of History 2025, where community, history, and hope come together.
This is Nick
and Laura
from Nichols Body Shop. We want you to know it's your choice who repairs your vehicle.
Do not assume you can get the best repair for the cheapest price.
Every shop is different.
We work for you, our customer, to give you the best repair possible.
Learn more by calling 770-967-8200 or come by the shop. Estimates are always free.
You can also find us on Facebook at Nichols Body Shop,
the home of quality repairs
and old-fashioned service.
Check your pockets and you'll find a quarter ready to inspire you to visit the state you find on the back.
It's America the Great on a podcast called Quarter Miles Travel, from Virginia's historic sites to the wide open plains of Montana, the low country rhythms of coastal Georgia to the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Explore America based on the U.S. Mint State Quarters. Hi, it's Anita with Travel with Anita and Friends. Quarter Miles Travel is all about pride. Pride in our states and our country. The natural beauty, the history, landmarks, and interesting people all make our country an exceptional place to visit. Go to my website, travelwithanita.com, where you will hear the podcast with stories told by historians and people who know the little-known facts. So come along, let's go on an adventure. Reach in your pocket and pull out that quarter. Flip it over, and Quarter Miles Travel will take it from there. We'll help you turn that quarter into an adventure.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a teacher from Appalachia High School has been terminated from employment this week after reports of possible verbal threats toward a student. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, Subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of health care subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is, you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand.
So that's Hakeem Jeffries and Jake Tapper. And, you know, I can't figure Jake Tapper out, if you want to know the truth. He goes from, you know, defending President Biden to writing a book, trying to expose President Biden to being tough, backing off. I mean, he's all over the place. And again, I write about this in my book, Indivisible, Uniting Values for a Divided America. What has happened? I love it when people make a lot of money. Okay, I love it when people are successful. But what has happened with people like Jake Tapper, or even some degree people like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, is that they have come up in this sort of liberal elite circle. And now they're either in media or they're in news, or the line is blurred between media and news. And they're now going to the fancy cocktail parties, and their kids are going to the fancy private schools, and they're rubbing shoulders with the people that they're covering. And that makes it a lot harder to hold them accountable for what they're doing or not doing. You know, back in the old scrappy days of journalism where they didn't make that much money and you did it because it was a calling and you had a beat that you were an expert on. You weren't just like a pretty face that was going to read lines about any individual subject. You had a situation where, you know, you could actually hold people accountable. Okay? And I just think that a guy like Jake Tapper is just a little bit afraid. He's afraid of pushing too far so he loses his job. But it seems to me that the best way to approach things, and this may just be the way I am, but if you get into a job like that, you should know in your heart that there's no guarantees you're going to have that job forever. Because if you're getting paid way more than the average bear for any job, you got to know that it's not going to last forever. Nobody stays at the top of their game forever. Okay, maybe Johnny Carson, who knew when to get out, he got out at the top of his game. That's really hard to do, okay? But nobody stays at the top of their game forever. I try, but I'm probably not as good as I was 10 years ago, okay? And so one of the things you have to look at is planning for the future. Maybe these guys aren't planning for the future, or their ego is just so big they've got to be in the spotlight all the time. But I just think we've got to be very careful about who we listen to. So here's my suggestion. I get asked this all the time. How do you get your information? Okay, so my good friend Gene Cobb gifted me a subscription of the Wall Street Journal. So I'm now reading all of the Wall Street Journal every day, not just the stuff that I can get for free. And I appreciate that very much. I do read the AJC. I do read the New York Times because I think you need to read multiple things. But I also read at least one foreign newspaper a day. And when I say newspaper, I don't mean paper and ink. I mean online. Because I want to see how European sources are covering the same stories we're looking at and what the angle is for that. Then I do this thing that I've done for years, is that if I'm searching, if I'm using, now I use AI, but if I'm using AI or I'm Google searching a particular topic, you go over into the corner of the page, and depending on what browser you use is where it is. But there should be an ability to sort the articles by date. And that way you find out, is this one article that's been picked up by 500 people, or is this a story that's bubbling up because they're writing it from a lot of different directions? Okay? So that's what I try to find. And then I wait, now more than I used to. I used to try to be first on everything, okay? And then you've heard me, if you've listened to me over the years, I say, well, I may not be first, but I'm going to be accurate. Now I'm like, I'm waiting a couple of days, okay? Unless it's a breaking news story, I'm waiting a couple of days to see how the data shakes out, the facts shake out, because a lot of first reports are inaccurate. And I don't want to I want to avoid putting inaccurate information out over the air. Now, the beauty of what I do is that if I find out I've made a mistake, I can correct it in real time. And I know you guys are going to tell me if I've made a mistake. But I've come to my positions over time. I'm not going to say that they have never changed, but I will say they do follow a construct, that I look at my life through the lens of Christianity. I'm a Christian first. Then I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a Georgian, an American, a Georgian, a conservative, a Republican. That's how I look at myself. But I try to look at everything through those lenses. And I try to not get hyperbolic about things anymore. I'm not saying I didn't used to do it. I did. I used to get all excited about things like everybody else did. But what I've learned is that things are not as bad as they seem. But what I would suggest for the United States Senate is this. Keep gaveling in every darn day and take votes and publicize those votes. And I think we need to get, and I got to double check to see if Rand Paul's still not with us. But Rand Paul needs to vote yes, and we need to get 4 or 5 more Democrats to vote yes. And there is a group of 20 purple state representatives. I don't know if they're senators and House. They're probably senators because the House has already voted. They don't have to vote again unless the Senate votes on something different and sends it back. So I think that people have taken my advice, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that gave it, is that if you're in a state that was won by Donald Trump and you're a Democrat, this was only a year ago, less than a year ago, then and you voted no, you need to reassess whether you should vote yes or not. And I think the model that you should use is John Fetterman, because John Fetterman won a close race in a swing state that Trump won in 2024. And there are some things that he's working with Republicans on. And I think that his stroke and the depression treatment that he got has given him like Realville, where he's saying, hey, this is the same thing we voted on 6 months ago. We voted on this in the last term. He's telling the truth. So I would use him as a model, and I think we're going to get the rest of these votes. Maybe 2 weeks, and we'll find out from David Bossie at the top of the hour what he thinks, but I think we might have a 2-week shutdown. And let me just tell you the truth about this. all the federal employees got paychecks on September 30th. Okay? Because they all have direct deposit and they get paychecks on the 15th and the 30th or the 15th and the 31st. It's the 15th and the last day of the month. Okay? So they're going to be fine for 2 weeks. You know, so don't cry for me, Argentina, if you see federal employees saying that they're not getting, that they don't have any money. Okay? So there's about a 2-week window before things start getting difficult that we can manage all these different things. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. We'll be talking to Dave Bossie next. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're talking to Representative Buddy Carter. Now, we are trying to get Mike Collins on too, as well as Derek Dooley again. But Buddy Carter was involved in this negotiation. He is a pharmacist, so he can talk about what's happening related to the executive order that was signed. And we look forward to talking about all of those different things. So we've got a lot coming up in the final hour of the program. You can also join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. So much more to come.
The views expressed on the Martha Zoller Show are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect those of Jacobs Media or our advertisers. The Martha Zoller Show is a presentation of North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9, WDUN.
Hey folks, Todd Starnes here. When it comes to keeping pests out of your home, Mark Turner at Select Pest Control has it figured out. As the name implies, you get to select whether you want their professional team to take care of those pesky pests, or if you'd rather do it yourself, visit their retail store on Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville. Since 1993, Mark and his great staff have offered professional service, products, and advice to North Georgia. Visit them online at selectpest.net, or better yet, stop by Select Pest Control today and tell them Todd sent you.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
It happened on Yom Kippur. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
A terrible killing at a synagogue on this, as you noted, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar.
And that synagogue is in Manchester, England. Fox's Greg Palcott reports the attacker drove into a crowd outside, then got out of his car with a knife stabbing at people.
He left 2 people killed, 3 people injured, and eventually he was killed by police, and they were very busy evacuating worshipers, adding security, not just there, but at synagogues all throughout the UK.
And because of Yom Kippur, the next Senate vote on a bill to fund the government won't come till tomorrow. So the shutdown continues as Democrats dig in, demanding changes to health care subsidies that'll take effect next year be part of any bill. Senator Jean Shaheen tells Fox.
People who are going to get pushed out of their health insurance because we're not willing to extend those tax credits are really going to be hurt, and that's going to affect the whole health care system.
Republicans accuse Democrats of also also trying to secure coverage for illegal immigrants as the Trump administration turns the focus on
what happens next in a shutdown and why federal workers will bear the brunt of it with furloughs and layoffs.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House also reads what the president posted on Truth Social about a meeting today with Russ Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget.
To determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity.
And hundreds of thousands of government employees are either off the job or deemed essential and have to keep working without pay. But the paychecks keep coming from members of Congress. Republican Senator Bernie Moreno wants to change that.
For every day that the government shut down, every member of Congress, House, and the Senate would lose permanently $500 per day. I think that's the minimum that the American people would expect.
America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
Good morning from the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom. I'm Steve Winslow. A Houston man remains in Hall County Jail without bond following an investigation into a domestic violence case. Sheriff's Office spokeswoman B.J. Williams says Hall County deputies responded to the scene at Gillsville Highway just after 2 a.m. Tuesday, where they encountered a victim who had been threatened with violence by 36-year-old Cameron Jonathan Bonker on a different location.
This woman had escaped a residence on Outer Circle, and she had been able to do that with the help of some friends who had come to the residence.
Williams adds that Bonker allegedly held a knife toward the victim and threatened to slit her throat. He was arrested later in the day on charges of aggravated assault under the Family Violence Act. A Gainesville man remains in Hall County Jail on $10,000 bond following his arrest in connection to a domestic dispute. WDUN's Lawson Smith with more.
The Hall County Sheriff's Office says deputies responded to a residence on Tulip Drive on September 23rd, just before 7 p.m. An initial investigation determined that 36-year-old Kevin Lee Mata allegedly shot 3 rounds with a handgun at the vehicle of a female victim that was backing out of the driveway. The victim reportedly exited her car, where Mata grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the ground, stole her keys and phone, and drove away in her vehicle. The car was later located on Athens Street in Gainesville. Mata was arrested in Franklin County on Monday and brought to the Hall County Jail.
Officials in Barrow County and with Appalachia High School are dealing with what led to the employment termination of a teacher this week. WDUN's Logan Landers reports.
Multiple sources are reporting that letters were sent from Appalachia High School principal Jessica Rayberg to parents of students notifying them about a teacher's employment termination. 11 Alive in Atlanta reported Wednesday evening that the letter sent to the parents of Appalachia High School students read, quote, "A student reported to our school administrators that a teacher made a threat toward a student during class," end quote. Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith has told Access WDUN his department is investigating the alleged incident involving a teacher and a student where the teacher made a comment that could have been threatening.
And the University of North Georgia cadets could be affected by the federal government shutdown, as an anonymous source within the university reported. All stipends, tuition fees, and room and board payments are reportedly on hold, apparently for those with ROTC scholarships. And according to a recent report from the university, roughly 60 students are awarded the scholarship each year. More news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
North Georgia, we've got a mix of clouds and sunshine and mostly sunny skies by this afternoon. We're in the mid-70s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Winder, 64 degrees, Tiger, 61, and in Gainesville, 63. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Have you been driving 25 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone? Are your passengers concerned about your vision? Don't let glare at night or in the rain slow you down. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK, clear lens exchange, specialty lenses with laser cataract surgery, as well as contacts and designer glasses. Our doctors handle a wide variety of vision problems for people of all ages and are skilled at providing fantastic solutions. Come see why we're voted best in Hall County year after year. Advanced Eye Center, vision correction for all ages.
Fall is planting time in North Georgia. This is Julie from Full Bloom Nursery, and now is the perfect time to plant pansies, perennials, shrubs, and trees. Planting in the fall gives your new plants time to become established without the stress of heat and dry weather. We've got over 4 acres of plants for you to choose from, so come see us for all your fall projects. Our knowledgeable staff will help you pick out the right plant for the right spot. Be sure to like us on Facebook and visit us on the web at fullbloomnursery.com.
talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
I don't know how you do this, how you actually choose people, because I don't know 90% of the names in here. Is it just who's the best dressed? Okay, I really like your shirt. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Vice President J.D. Vance, who came out yesterday with Caroline Leavitt. And you know what? You got to have a sense of humor, for sure. And J.D. Vance did a fantastic job in that press conference. Joining me right now is David Bossie from Citizens United, as well as has been involved in many issues on the conservative stage for as long as I've known him, and is a great spokesman for our views. And David, I think we're going to have, I'm hopeful that tomorrow when they come back in, that we might be able to just keep having these votes every day and showing that it's the Democrats that want to shut down the government. Has Rand Paul switched his vote? I looked yesterday, but I couldn't find it.
He didn't.
Not
he did
yet.
Not that I know of. No,
Yeah.
And it's troubling. But he has, and his positions on
I understand.
spending.
Yeah.
And I get it. But I do believe if we get to 59. That
He'll
Rand
come over.
will,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's trying to make his points, trying to earn. And by the way, he pulls our conference in the right direction generally on funding issues. So we'll see where that ends up. But look, this is a much bigger thing than just one guy. This is about right versus wrong. This is about, the Democrat Party being so out of touch with the American people, and the Democrat Party being totally controlled. And look, folks like you and I, we know this as well as we know, waking up in the morning. But the American people are getting a belly full this week about Trump derangement syndrome. Anything he is for, they are against. It's common sense. That's what the president is espousing here. Common sense. A clean continuing resolution. Historically, that is what the Democrats have always supported. But because Donald Trump supports it, they're against it.
And voted on 13 times. Most of it while Biden was president. I mean, it is crazy. And what I understand the continuing resolution, the clean continuing resolution to be, is there were a couple of little shifts and some addition of security, money for security for Congress. But basically exactly what's been voted on the last 13 times. Now, do I like that we keep doing continuing resolutions? No, I don't. But John Thune...
No, you and I have been against them.
That's right. John Thune has said that they are close to actually finishing a budget on time and that they need the time to do it. And I think eventually, I hear there's a meeting, Dave, of 20 of these senators that, that are bipartisan, that are going to be meeting and talking today. And hopefully they're going to get the votes they need, because all they got to do is look at a map and look at the senators where Trump won, like my two senators, where Trump won, and they should be voting for this.
Well, your two senators are part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Amen to that.
Right? And your state needs to solve that, okay? Because
we're going to, believe me.
It's to the detriment of Georgia, all Georgians, and being an University of Alabama fan, I don't really usually lose a lot of sleep over Georgia, but and I'm sorry about Saturday. Well, not sorry.
That's all right. I'm a double dog, but I can take it.
Oh, you guys dish it out. So you could certainly take it.
That's right.
For sure. So no, this is a problem that your state needs to fix, in that, if we didn't have those two left-wing leftists, I mean, just as hardcore, I don't call them progressive. They're just barely socialists. They are part of the problem. America has a 37 staring at a $38 trillion debt. And we have out of control spending that this president This House, this Senate is trying to, for the last 8 or 9 months, trying to claw back so that we can sustain it, because we are on a track for bankruptcy. The American people are just starting. I don't believe they really understand it, but they're just starting to understand the gravity of the situation. And we need to make, as a nation, the tough choices today when we have the chance to make them, as opposed to them being made for us.
And
when we
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, because there's going to be a moment in time. We don't know when that is. That's the problem. There's no calendar date, but we don't know when it is. But America's on track for insolvency, and we have to get our spending under control.
So I sent a message to Senator Ossoff. He used to come on the show. He doesn't come on anymore. But I sent a message to him
shocked.
before the thing, and I said, look, bottom line is you had 50.6% of the vote, and in the last election, Trump won. What you're doing by voting no is just giving more power to Donald Trump, which I'm fine with for the moment. Okay? For the moment, I'm fine with Donald Trump having more power. And if you really believe what you say, then really you're not being reasonable. So these Democrats are saying Trump is a despot, Trump is Hitler, Trump is this. But if you give us health care for illegal immigrants, we'll let you have what you want.
How outrageous is that? Let's just go back to your point of that senator. Not because Donald Trump, to extend your point, Donald Trump won the state of Georgia and won it pretty well.
Yes.
Your two senators are not representing those voters when it comes to President Trump's agenda. So they're in conflict. And so the American people are waking up to the fact that these leftists care more about illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, than they do American citizens. And we've been doing this together for a long time, but, Santelli, the guy from CNBC, famously said in the lead up to the Tea Party movement, now back 15 years ago, he said, America is going to be lost when there are more people drinking the water than carrying the water. And that's the watershed moment that we are in right now. We have to get our finances under control. So the left wants to spend $1.5 trillion, add it to the current spending budget that we don't have. We don't have the current budget, let alone $1.5 trillion additional dollars. We don't even have what is currently being spent, which is why there are many members of Congress, including some that we've talked about, that want additional spending cuts, that they want bigger cuts. And that's what the Democrats have done. They're allowing now a complete Russ Vogt, who is a hero. This guy is courageous. This guy is wicked smart. And the Democrats have now allowed Russ Vogt the opportunity to go to the president and tell him exactly what he can do, how he can do it, and how he can make it permanent in the restructuring of our bloated federal bureaucracy. And that's what the American people want. That's what they voted for. And by the way, that's what's needed. It has to be done. We have to get our federal government under control, smaller, more efficient, better run government, which you could see this president's cabinet is running their agencies so much better than any time before in history.
And I want to say to folks, because we have these two senators that we have, you can make an impact by calling their office and by letting them know. But here's what I'll tell you, what I learned from working for a senator. Don't call the D.C. office. Okay? They don't really care because they're just going to work for somebody else. You got to call the local office, because the people that work at the local office have a vested interest in that candidate. And they're going to actually put the message forward. And they care about the message more. Call the local office, let them know you want them to vote for the continuing resolution. And if you do enough of that, we can make a change. And I want to ask you one more question, Dave. We talked about Rand Paul at the beginning, but Rand Paul's plan, which I think is the exact right plan for what we need to do to get our budget right, and I'm sure he's talked to Russ Vought about it, is that you go back to 2019 spending, you adjust it for inflation, maybe add a little bit more for defense or something like that, but you are basically $200 billion away from a balanced budget if you do that. And it's reasonable. It gets all the COVID money out of there, but nobody wants to be reasonable. It's so crazy.
Well, that's what it goes to my point earlier, common sense.
Yes.
That's what this president ran on. It's just 2 words, common sense. The president of the United States, Donald Trump, ran on it in 2024. He ran on it in 2016, obviously in 2020, but he made it a centerpiece of his re-election campaign was common sense. We are going to do things that, look, let's just use crime as an example. These blue cities, these blue states that did not vote for Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump isn't just sending in the FBI and National Guard into red states, into red cities where people supported him to help them. He's doing it for every American. He wants every American to be safe. He is the president of all the people, not just some of the people. And so it's who he is, and it's common sense that he sends in the federal, whether it's National Guardsmen or FBI or whomever, into Chicago, into Portland, into Los Angeles, because those are the places that are out of control, crime-ridden, and the American people don't feel safe in those cities. And look what he just did with Washington, D.C. A month in. Washington, D.C. is a different place. And so it is incredible now what's going on. And I think other mayors are seeing it.
It's because of what he did that AOC and Bernie Sanders could walk around D.C. yesterday filming a video and not getting in trouble. I'm telling you what, it was funny. David Bossie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Martha. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll take a break.
In North Georgia,
it's the topics that matter to me.
We're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
It can be difficult when you hear multiple experts give totally opposite opinions on how you should handle your estate planning and elder needs. What's the real answer? This is Kevin Tharp, and I've had to face these issues head on with my own family. And I've made it my life's work. I'm not telling you to just listen to me. I'm just asking for the chance to be a part of your conversation. Log on to KevinTharpwithane.com. Let me help you make the hard decisions the right way.
Hi folks, Matt Hayes here from Hayes of Baldwin. If you're in the market for a new car, truck, or SUV, take a short drive and come see what North Georgia has to offer. We have 8 brands in one location. A great selection of pre-owned and manufacturer-certified pre-owned vehicles. But that's not all. With 2 large service departments to take care of all your automotive needs, from maintenance, repairs, or just tires and checkups. Hayes offers friendly staff and excellent customer service. With over 50 years of a family-owned and operated business in North Georgia, come see what Hayes has to offer you. Hayes of Baldwin, just 3 miles north of Hall County on Highway 365.
Hello, I'm Greg Beatles, president of your Atlanta Falcons and also proud supporter of Eagle Ranch. My family and the Falcons have been involved with the ranch for many years. Eagle Ranch has expanded its services to meet the increased needs in our community, to include outpatient counseling, a day school program, a residential program, and other therapeutic services that are both affordable and accessible. Learn more at eagleranch.org. That's eagleranch.org.
The 28th annual Motul Petit Le Mans returns to Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, October 8th through 11th. It's 4 days of world-class sports car endurance racing, culminating with a 10-hour IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season finale, along with action from 4 additional racing series. Enjoy the fan zone, car corrals, grid walk, and so much more. Tickets start at just $60 with kids 12 and under admitted for free. Get yours today at MichelinRacewayRoadAtlanta.com and be there for the Motul Petit Le Mans October 8th through 11th at Michelin Raceway.
Building, moving, remodeling, they all create more waste than will fit in your average garbage can. Thank goodness for Waste Eliminator. They offer roll-off dumpsters in all sizes. Just visit wasteeliminator.com, click on Order Dumpster, and they'll deliver just what you need. From simple home cleanout to large commercial projects, Waste Eliminator handles it all. Schedule your roll-off dumpster today at wasteeliminator.com. Environmentally responsible and committed to customer service. It's Waste Eliminator.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Gainesville City School System announces the 4-year cohort graduation rate for 2025 surpasses 90%. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Many people call me traitor. Who are those people? The immigrants who are living in this country, who love to make money, send money home back, but don't try to integrate. I'm traitor to them because why? Because I choose to be loyal to this country, which is providing me safety, food, shelter. The guys who hate me, who don't love this country, still living here. Simple. Fit in or off.
So, it's the Martha Zoller Show. I played that. This was a British immigrant, but it could be an immigrant from anywhere, okay? And this is what you want. If you can't see the video, but he is still dressing in his traditional garb. He's a Sikh, and he came to the UK, and he loves the UK, and he says he assimilates because the UK gave him opportunity, jobs, sending money home, doing all this stuff. And that if you're an immigrant that's not going to like being in the UK, then fine, go where you want to go. I kind of feel the same way, that I love the diversity of our country. I love that we have lots of different kinds of people that live here. I think that's Americanism is an idea more than a place. But bottom line is, or I should say because my friend Justin Gibney has taught me that, and we are a country with the rule of law. And I think that what we have to do is understand what the law is. I mean, I don't know if you've been following this story from Des Moines, Iowa. You would think Des Moines, Iowa, pretty conservative place. But they've got all this in their school system. They've got DEI. They hire based on race. I mean, they put this right on their website. But this guy had overstayed his visa. Yes, he had been educated in the United States, but he had overstayed his visa and had gone, from where he was going, and was an illegal immigrant with 6 children with 5 different women. So he's the superintendent of the school system, even though he's got 6 children with 5 different women. And he, is an illegal immigrant. He has a deportation order, an active deportation order. So somebody didn't check his background. And you would think a school system the size of Des Moines probably would have to use E-Verify. But clearly in this case, they did not. So I just wanted to play that because I think it really shows that what we want from people is come to our country legally if you want to come, but want to be an American. What's the point of coming here if you don't want to be an American? Okay, what's the point of coming here if you don't want to be a part of American culture? Okay, I took out to lunch yesterday the young lady that is our exchange student through Rotary Club through the GRSP program, and she's doing great. She has assimilated really well to the culture. She's playing soccer for Brunel. She's made American friends. She's made international friends. She's only going to be here for a year. This is funny. I think I'm going to make Logan laugh with this one. She said her favorite part so far is free refills at the restaurants.
I mean, she's not wrong. That is pretty great to have.
I know. She said, this is my favorite part so far because, and we've been to Europe on vacation. They charge you for everything. Okay, you have to pay for a glass of water. You have to pay for whatever drink you get and every refill because they want you to discourage you from wasting stuff, you know? So I just love it. And I even said when we left the restaurant, you want to refill one more time? You can do that and take it out the door.
Did her eyes just
like, yes.
just, oh, really?
Yes,
I can't?
It was great. Yeah. So America's great. But it's not for everybody. Okay. And if you were a person that wants to come here with the sole purpose of disrupting our society, we don't want you. We don't want you, and it's okay for us to say we don't want you. Okay? We don't want you if you want to disrupt our society. We don't want you if you want to change our government. We don't want you. You can stay in your own government. You can go to plenty of countries that think the way you do. That's what I don't understand. Well, I know what the reason is for all this immigration into Western countries by people that don't agree with Western values is because they think if they get big enough, they can overturn those Western values and turn our country into a caliphate. Okay? Now, in the United States, we're not having as big a problem with that as they are in Western Europe. But we're starting to see it here. And again, I am not opposed to Islam in theory, okay? But radical Islam that says convert or die, we're going to take over. We don't care what you think. We're going to have this call to prayer in Dearborn, Michigan. We don't care if it wakes you up at 5:30 in the morning. Because when we get the majority, we're going to get rid of you guys. They're saying that in Dearborn, Michigan. Now, I think people get what they deserve election-wise. And, you know, I think New York in the past has been very resilient to bad mayors because they have had bad mayors in the past. This one's going to be different because he's the first bad mayor that's post-COVID. And that it used to be you had to live in New York in order to work in certain fields and to make it in certain fields. And now you can work remotely in those fields. And you know what? People are going to do it. Because when you start saying you're just going to tax the rich people are going to leave. Because rich people are always going to be able to avoid paying taxes. Okay? I think, you know, and that may say contradictory to what I've said before because wealthy people in this country do pay their fair share. The top 1% pay the top 40% of income taxes. The top 10% pay the top 90% of income taxes. Okay? So they pay more than their fair share. They pay a progressive rate. They pay more. This idea that rich people are not paying their fair share is just not backed up by the numbers. I know you guys don't like numbers, but it's true. We'll be back.
At Jackson EMC, innovation is an ongoing cycle, a process without a beginning or an end, where one idea leads to the next. Solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes, automated switch technology. What we do as an industry is vital. We keep communities powered, so we must always have an eye on the future. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Let's go!
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday nights at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. President Trump says he's meeting today with Russell
Vogt, who runs the Office of Management and Budget, to discuss what jobs he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. It's linked to the partial government shutdown. New Hampshire Democratic Senator Jean Shaheen on Fox and Friends.
People who are going to get pushed out of their health insurance because we're not willing to extend those tax credits are really going to be hurt, and that's going to affect the whole healthcare system.
Terrible attack on a synagogue in Manchester, England, on the holiest day on the Jewish calendar.
The temple was, in fact, packed. A man drove his car into a crowd, ramming the people outside, apparently got out of the car, and with a knife started to stab as well.
Fox's Greg Pelcott. Police shot and killed the suspect. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and the federal government already seeing widespread effects from the government shutdown. At the local level, an anonymous source within the University of North Georgia has reported cadets could be affected. All stipends, tuition and fees, room and board payments reportedly on hold, apparently for those with ROTC scholarships. According to a recent report from the university, roughly 60 students are awarded a scholarship each year. 20 people arrested after an investigation into a drug trafficking organization over the past year. WDUN's Logan Landers reports.
14 Stevens County residents, as well as 6 others in North Georgia, were arrested following the investigation into the organization. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the organization was ran by 48-year-old Manathan Colbert of Toccoa, who is facing 19 charges, including 3 RICO charges. The other 19 arrested are facing a total of 43 RICO charges, and there are a total of 122 charges against all 20 arrested.
And the Georgia Chamber of Commerce has named Blue Ridge Fannin County as its Rural Community of the Year. The Chamber presented the award Monday during the Rural Awards Luncheon as part of the Rural Prosperity Summit in Tifton. You'll find more news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
I hope your Thursday morning is fabulous so far, North Georgia. We've got a mix of clouds and sunshine as you're driving along. Sunglasses handy, and mostly sunny skies by this afternoon. We're in the mid-70s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Suches, 62 degrees, Jefferson 67, and in Gainesville 65 degrees. From North Georgia's News Talk AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Good food and good folks make a good meal. You bring the folks and we'll take care of the food. This is Grant Nichols. At Loretta's Country Kitchen, we use only top quality ingredients like our new Springer Mountain chicken tenders. They're bigger than other tenders and are locally raised, so they're always fresh. Speaking of fresh, we have an entire walk-in cooler dedicated just to fresh produce. That's why we say at Loretta's, it's all good. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's Loretta's Country Kitchen, Mundy Mill Road in Oakwood.
It's bad enough you get wet when your roof leaks, so don't get soaked when it comes to getting it repaired. This is Chris Earls at Georgia Select Roofing, where we have outstanding Google reviews and an A+ BBB rating, because we know roofing and customer service. If it's a new roof, a roof repair, or gutters and downspouts, estimates are free and we offer financing. See us online at georgiaselectroofing.com or call me at 678-316-6899. At Georgia Select Roofing, we have you covered.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
When the cameras were rolling, John Ossoff used veterans to score political points, taking credit for a bill he had nothing to do with.
Protect American veterans.
Days later, Ossoff stabbed our veterans in the back, voting with Schumer to shut down the government. Because to Ossoff, free health care for illegals is the priority. But veterans, he couldn't care less. That means benefits offices shuttered, hotlines unanswered, and life-saving services denied. John Ossoff, stealing valor at our veterans' expense.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and that's the new ad that Buddy Carter put out. He's running for Senate against John Ossoff, and he's joining us right now, Representative Buddy Carter. He represents the 1st District. And I got to tell you, Buddy, you are aggressive and going after these issues. You must have a great team around you helping you get on top of these things as quickly as you are.
Well, we do. After 32 years in business, it's not hard to figure out management. You just surround yourself with good people and you let them go at it. And that's what I did in business, and that's what I'm doing now.
So before we get to the shutdown discussion, you also this week, were a part of this signing of this deal with Pfizer related to drug costs. And I want to know your thoughts on it for two reasons. One, because you're a pharmacist, but two is I'm nervous about any deal with Pfizer, okay? Until they say they're not going to spend more money on advertising than they're spending on research and development, I don't trust any of these guys. So I just would love to know your thoughts.
Well, first of all, let's address the advertising part. I've never really understood pharmaceutical manufacturers advertising their drugs.
Seriously. My husband is a primary care doctor, and it makes him so mad because he is the person that has to prescribe it, and you are the person that has to fill it. It's the customer shouldn't be like going, "Oh, I need that drug." Anyway, sorry.
I know. You're going to walk into your doctor's office and say, "Hey, this is the drug I need. I saw it advertised on TV." Well, that's not the kind of cancer you have, folks. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I will tell you, I do like what the president is trying to do in bringing down prescription drug prices. And he understands where the problem is. He understands it's with the middleman. Now, he's taken a little different approach than I would think that I'd like for him to take. I'd rather him attack the middleman directly. But he's trying to get at him, and he's putting pressure on them, and it will indirectly put pressure on them. Now, Pfizer, I question them because of the vaccines and everything. They really got a sweetheart deal with the vaccines. But, I do think it's a step in the right direction in bringing prescription drug prices down in America, and I applaud the president for what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's been a while since I had a baby, but my niece had a baby on July 4th, a July 4th baby. And there's like 71 vaccines they want to give to this newborn. And she pushed back on some of them, or a lot of them, actually. I think we need to have a real discussion about that, too, because an infant's immune system isn't even developed yet. Why are we introducing vaccines as while they're newborns?
Absolutely, and that's where Bobby Kennedy has come in with radical transparency is the way that I describe it. And we need that. We need people to understand and let the pharmacists and the physicians, along with the patient in consultation, make these decisions. Don't be forcing this upon people. That's the thing that I think bothers most people, is that you tell them you've got to have this vaccine. Now, in some cases, it may be a requirement. It may be necessary, but in the majority of cases, it needs to be through consultation with the patient, with the parent, or with the patient and the pharmacist and the physician.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the shutdown. Looks like they had another vote yesterday that was still 55 to 45. I think that if it gets to 59, and Dave Bossie pointed this out to me, and I kind of agree with this thought. If it gets to 59, then I think Rand Paul's going to come back over. I think he was trying to make a point. He's at least been consistent about his views on spending. This is not anything new with him. And he's voted his conscience quite a bit, even when it cost him. Okay, so I kind of respect that about him. But where are we? Because am I right that everybody got a paycheck on the 30th? Did everybody get a paycheck on the 30th, federal employees?
They did. They did. And most importantly, our military did.
So this idea that really we got until the 15th of the month before anybody starts hurting from a paycheck basis, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct, particularly our military. And to your point about Rand Paul, I hope and I do feel like he will come around if we get to 59. But the point is that, look, the impact hasn't been felt yet, but it will be felt very shortly, especially by the 15th. Our military did get paid on the 1st, but if they don't get paid on the 15th, I've already sent a letter to House administration asking them to forego my salary until this is over with, and I'm not going to take anything until this is over with. But when our troops don't get paid, when Social Security is questioned, and whether you're going to get paid, or the VA benefits, or if seniors can't access telehealth, these things have a real impact, a real life impact. And that's what the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, John Ossoff, and the Democrats, they don't seem to care at all whether that happens or not. Well, I will tell you that they're going to hear about this, and they'll hear about it at the ballot box.
But to folks who get Social Security, because I know that the Democrats are floating that, but Social Security is a completely different fund, correct? I mean, we're not dipping into the general fund yet like we are with Medicare. It's all a completely different fund. So Social Security recipients have nothing to worry about, correct?
They do not. They should be getting paid, but there's
always concerns.
The government has to go in and pull out money from one pot to another pot, and for essential services, it could potentially. But the point you make is right, and that's one thing we have to keep in mind. But there are going to be services that are going to be impacted, particularly for our veterans and particularly for our seniors. And that both of those groups are going to suffer.
Well, and I know you're running for Senate, and I think one of the things that really bugs me the most about our senators, and to some degree, with the exception of Johnny Isakson, I think even Republicans make this mistake. They get up in that bubble, and because it's a very exclusive club, it's 100 people. It's one of the most exclusive clubs in the world, and they start acting like they start playing hard to get, if you know what I mean. They don't talk to their constituents anymore. They don't, you got to get through 14 levels of people. I worked for a United States Senator, okay? I know how this goes, and I fought hard against it then. I hope that if you're elected to the Senate, that you're going to be that guy that's going to still do the videos, that are going to still talk to people about what's happening, and kind of do it in real time. There is no reason why you can't, or whoever is a United States Senator cannot inform the people in real time about what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And we've done that, and we will continue to do that. Look, we got three major candidates in this race right now. One is the son of a legendary football coach. Another's the son of a congressman. I'm the son of a shift worker in a paper mill. My dad would have been 88 yesterday if he were still alive. And I'll never forget the means by which I grew up, and I take that with me for everywhere I go.
Absolutely. So, what do you think's going to happen in the next few days?
Well, nothing's going to happen today.
If you were a betting man.
Right. There's not going to be any votes in the Senate today because of the Jewish high holiday, Yom Kippur. But tomorrow they will vote again. I suspect it will not pass. We had a conference call yesterday with the speaker. He indicated to us that the earliest we could expect to be back in would be Monday afternoon. We may go back in Monday afternoon if something passes through the Senate, but it won't be before then.
And obviously you've passed something, the House has. The only reason why you'd have to come back in is if they change something in it in order to get some votes, right? Because if they just
exactly right.
If they just pass what you sent over there, then the president will sign it.
That's right, and it's all over with, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. But for 7 more weeks or however many more weeks. So how close are we, buddy, to actually getting back on regular order? Because my thought is we should do a continuing resolution all the way to next September, even though I hate continuing resolutions. But then we've got to really hold people's feet to the fire about doing regular order for this next budget year.
And there is a possibility we could get our appropriations done before November 21st, which is when this CR that we passed out of the House with the Republican majority expires. And Tom Cole and the Appropriations Committee, they are doing their job. We've already passed 60% of our appropriation bills. Now, the others are tougher. There's no question about that. But we can do it if we set our mind to it. And if we stay together in the Republican majority, we could get this done before November 21st. And why is that important? It's important for a number of reasons, not the least of which, what you just mentioned about CRs and not liking them. This CR is still an extension of the Biden-Harris administration. So the policies and the priorities reflect the Biden-Harris administration and not the Trump administration.
Yeah, absolutely. They voted for this 13 times before. They voted yes plenty of times. Okay, so
Sure
they
they
need to vote, and if you're a Democrat senator, first of all, our Georgia folks need to call our Democratic senators and call the Atlanta office, because the D.C. people don't care, because they're going to work for whoever the next senator is, in some office. Okay, the way you get your message through is by calling their local office, and then we've got to get this going. And if you're a Democrat senator in a state that Trump carried, you need to be rethinking your vote.
I would agree, especially with 2 Democratic senators from the state of Georgia, which is a Republican state. It's a red state.
Yes, it is.
They're
Yes,
not
it
representing our values. And I have sent a letter to both of these senators, both of our senators, encouraging them to forego their salary during this time as well.
Absolutely. Buddy Carter, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. We'll take a break. We'll be back.
Every community thrives on its local businesses. Are you supporting yours? This is Phil Benelli, the host of North Georgia Business Radio. Each week, I sit down with local business owners for the trade secrets that make their businesses work. Join us Saturdays at 3 on North Georgia's News Talk, WDUN.
Hey, Corey, I got a little quiz for you. When was gas about 30 cents a gallon? And when did Arnold Palmer win his first Masters?
Let me take a guess. 1958.
Oh, you read that just perfectly, Corey. I appreciate that. And the best thing of all, Dad and I started an electronic sales company in 1958. I was the gopher and he was the thinker.
One thing I have learned to appreciate more is in this day and age where AI is important, the credence you give to having a live person answer the phone and say, "May I help the person?"
AI is a good technology that we've embraced in our cameras, access controls, burglar alarms, fire alarms. It has a place, but May I is just as important. They want somebody caring about their problems.
So please give us a call at 770-532-3334 and look us up online at electronicsalesco.com.
Aren't you glad that cooler weather and the fall planting season is here? This is Kelly, and Full Bloom Nursery is stocking up on beautiful mums and fall annuals. Plus, we're fully stocked with 4 acres of perennial shrubs and trees. Since 2003, Full Bloom Nursery has been helping customers all over North Georgia. To get started on your projects, give us a call at 678-616-3035. Visit fullbloomnursery.com for more info, and be sure to like us on Facebook to see what's growing.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
1 in 8 women will face breast cancer. But the Breast Cancer Research Foundation is changing that. With breakthroughs in prevention and treatment, we're not just saving lives, we're rewriting the future, giving those diagnosed more time to not just survive, but thrive. This is the moment. This is the mission. Support breast cancer research. Until 1 in 8 is none in 8.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Houston man facing Hall County charges of aggravated assault following a domestic violence case early Tuesday. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
When people hurt, you usually get a better response, right? You get a better mechanism of buy-in or doubling down on something of knowing who I am and knowing what I've got to work on. So that part excites me to get to work today.
If we truly want to be honest and upfront about leadership, you can't ignore the cost of leadership. Great leaders are willing to accept those costs. Number one, you will have to make hard decisions that negatively affect people you care about. Number two, you will be disliked despite your best attempt to do the best for the most. And number three, you will be misunderstood and won't always have the opportunity to defend yourself.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That was Kirby Smart. And the first clip was from the press conference after the loss to Alabama. And this is why he's such a good coach and so resilient, because even though I'm sure he was devastated at the loss to Alabama, and you saw him trying to greet every single player as they went off the field to say, hey, this wasn't your fault. This was our fault. I'm at fault too, blah, blah, blah. But he says that the next day he's ready to go to work and fix what they did wrong. This is why he's a great leader. The second thing he said is absolutely true. The three things that he said. You know, you got to be willing to take the heat for making decisions that you think are best for everyone. You got to be willing to not be liked. I think it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. This is why I love Kirby Smart.
No, yeah, and like I said, you heard just from those two clips, and he's done this for years now, right, where if they have a tough loss, which they don't lose often, that he's going to be the first one to the podium saying, here's what happened, here's, where we can improve. He doesn't put, you don't see him, rag on guys and say, oh, number 47, he was the main reason we lost this game. You don't see him, he gets into his players, but in a motivating way, not in, to belittle them or to get them mad. That's what a good coach does, is you're supposed to push your players. You're supposed to be, you are the main leader. Yes, you have captains and whatnot, but everyone still looks to you to kind of guide them. Like I said, with all the tough losses, like you mentioned, Alabama, and also when they're at their highs, when they're winning national championships. That's who you want at the helm right there.
No, absolutely. So he's, I like Kirby Smart. He's still on my bucket list. I'd like to meet him. I hope he'll come for a Bulldog Club meeting here sometime, or maybe, my friend Barbara Dooley can help with that, but we'll see what happens. Now, Rhett said, great job asking about this. Politicians should do videos and that kind of message from their home office, not by grandstanding from the well of the Senate or just the well of the House. That's just making campaign video. I want to see true updates from members' offices. And, that was one of the things that I was going to do if I'd been elected to Congress. And this was like 2012. When you think about the technology in 2012, you still had iPhones and all that kind of stuff. But now it would be so easy to do. I mean, you could go live on YouTube with 2 clicks. I mean, it would be very easy to do. But an idea that I was going to do if I got elected was kind of what I do here, that I talk about things. I was going to, like, if we had a big vote, I was going to go off the floor and I was going to do a video, upload it so that you could find out real time. I was going to answer your questions. I was going to do that kind of stuff. I was going to sort of take the Martha Zoller Show to Congress. And, and that's all shoulda, coulda, and woulda. And I'm not sorry that I lost, okay? It was sorry at the time, and I had a hard time at the time. But I know God had a plan for me. And since that time, I've had 6 grandchildren, but also my husband had cancer twice. And so, we've been through a lot as a family since then. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have done a good job if I had been a congresswoman, but something would have suffered. Either my personal life would have suffered or the service to you would have suffered, because there's no way you can be the person you need to be when your husband has cancer and be 100% on the job. And I think God sent me this wonderful job that I had, helping David Perdue get elected and then working for him, because the team he put together was such a family-first team. And when my husband was going through chemo, I didn't have to worry about taking a day off or a sick day or anything like that. I kept my phone with me because it was an all-day process, and he slept most of the day, quite frankly. But I wanted to be with him in case he needed anything. But I was working. I was returning phone calls. I was doing emails. I was calling people and following up on things and doing the business of the office. But I was also able to be a good wife and, being able to find that balance. And you know what? It takes time. And this is what I would say to younger people who say, oh, yeah, that's easy for you to say, you boomer, that you get all this freedom and flexibility. I'll agree that I didn't have the freedom and flexibility when I was a 25-year-old worker and when I was just starting out in my career, actually at 20 years old. I graduated from college at 20. And I didn't have all that flexibility then. I was working the long hours. I was in at 7 a.m. and I didn't go home until 7 p.m. And I worked nights and weekends and I traveled and I did all the things that were required to get ahead in my job. But after, 8 or 10 years of doing that, hopefully you have created a name for yourself where your bosses will say, you know what, I know you'll get the work done. And that's the thing I've always loved about being either a contract worker or a salaried worker, because you don't, you're not paid by the hour. Nobody's counting your hours. They're counting your product. They're counting the fact that you get the job done. Now, granted, there are jobs that have to be done. Like Logan can't work from home and do what he does. He needs to be here with me when we're doing this, right?
Someone's got to be behind the board, the physical board here.
Somebody's got to be behind the board. We have to have coverage for certain things. In the retail business that I was in, you got to have people in the stores, okay, helping customers. So there are jobs where you can't do that kind of job, but there are jobs when you should be able to have that kind of flexibility to be able to do the job on your own terms as long as you are getting the work done. That's the key. If you're getting the work done. Now, my brother-in-law works for a defense contractor, or did work for a defense contractor. And, you've got, when you're designing something, yes, a lot of it is done on a computer, but the collaboration that happens as you're adjusting the design has to be done in person. It has to be like a banter kind of thing. Because I still don't think, and Logan, you can tell me if I'm wrong, you still, even though Zoom's come a long way and all these video meeting programs, you still don't quite get the kind of collaboration in a flat screen video call.
No, I agree with that. While Zoom is very helpful in all things. The technology, it's great. Sometimes it is better to have just, those in-person meetings to, like I say, because you get to interact with people more. You get to, go up to a whiteboard and interact and write stuff down. If you're just on a Zoom call, you just get to talk to a screen, which is fine and dandy for a lot of things. A lot of people work that way. But for certain, like I said, certain topics especially, it's better to have it in person still.
I mean, just like what happened at the first of this week with this generals meeting, that they felt it was important to get these guys all together in one room, guys and gals, all together in one room and hear directly from the Secretary of Defense. I'm not going to call him the Secretary of War unless somebody just really gives me a hard time. But the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States, they needed to hear from those people directly. They probably won't need another meeting like that for another 5 years, but we shall see how it goes. So much happening right here on the Martha Zoller Show, but we'll be back tomorrow.